as an artist, I worked a lot with light. And obviously, I'm very excited about being a part of the Daylight Academy now. And what I'm curious about in particular is the fact that light in it as of itself is really only visible when it falls on something. So it seems to sort of talk about its own absence as much as its own presence. There's also something about all light essentially comes from the past. I mean, it takes a little while for the light to arrive. It doesn't seem to even travel in straight lines, which is a different topic. But the fact that the light that we have, or the light that we see and all of that, is not new. Right? It's like old light, so to speak. And then the role of the Daylight Academy is sort of to imagine the light of the future. Right? So we are, in a sense, being pushed by the light from the past. But I think our role, or the Daylight Academy as such, is not to look back. Is to question, how do we use the future, the expected light? I mean, the light that has not arrived yet. How do we actually organize the best use of that light? How do we sort of build, and how do we design the systems in which the light has not arrived yet? But it's an interesting paradox, about light, that we are almost sending ourselves messages from the future about the light we expect to receive now. Anyway, enough artistic talk by me. Let me talk about a few other things. In my work, daylight has always played a significant role. Obviously, as I work with experience and the sort of, should I say, the more social scientific, or the psychology of how to be a human and how to rehumanize one's position in the world, light plays a significant role. Not in a kind of classic existential being illuminated kind of way, but more like in a I wouldn't say very scientific, but this sort of starts with, should I say, like a chronopsychology or chromopsychology in terms of the cyclical nature of light, the daylight, how it moves, the seasons, the winter and the summer. Being from Iceland and Denmark has taught me that there is a very big difference between summer light and daylight, and that influences us. It influences not just how we should I say, see ourselves, it actually also influences us on a kind of sort of biological way. But I would like to stress one point. In my art, I've also been interested in how to prevent staying in these silos. How to not be too Darwinistic, vertical, so to speak. It's not, as an artist, I don't really believe in the sort of survival of the fittest, if you want. I think I'm very interested in the horizontality of how to collaborate across the silos. I mean, the Daylight Academy is a good example of having me as an artist talking to you in this way is actually about how to sort of have a dialogue between the silos. So for me, light is one of the things that actually hosts the opportunity for us to collaborate, instead of competing, for that matter. But and this is where daylight is really interesting, because we all need it, and there's like so much interesting material. We now live in times of the climate, so we have, for instance, the fact that trees need light for photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis is needed for the trees to create CO2 and oxygen and so on, and how is it? The oxygen comes and they use carbon. It was actually quite brilliant if you think about it. And light is essential. If you have a head of a salad head, it's actually it's like a battery. Like, it's a light in the salad. It's like a little power station. And if you eat it, you are also in power. So you're, so to speak, you're eating light, you could argue. In that way, I think art can reframe, also redesign systems, question whether we humans, being the opposite of tree, because I inhale the very oxygen that the tree created, and I exhale the carbon. I need light too, but it's just this whole idea of, like, so who is more important here, the tree or the person? The tree creates oxygen and uses carbon. I use oxygen, I create carbon. So here it is. Daylight for me is like this abundant source of questions about how do we create the future together? How do we essentially also create a language with which we talk to each other across the silos. Natural science, social science, spatial developers, urban planning, architects, designing artists, all of these people who historically have maybe stayed a little bit too much in their own comfort zone, highly specialized. And the Daylight Academy, I think, offers this more horizontal opportunity to say, maybe we need to reconfigure what is our mandate, how do we collaborate, and what is the future going to be like?